Now, this other one here, I've never heard of this, but it's called Lewy Body Dementia. This is another strong possibility. It is characterized by fluctuating cognitive impairment, which aligns with the symptoms of coming and going. Individuals with Lewy body dementia can experience episodes of confusion, hallucinations, and movement difficulties that resemble Parkinson's disease. I watched another video pertaining to this Lewy body dementia, and the person that made the video essentially said this is the most common type of dementia here in America, and it is probably the least dementia that people have ever heard of. It's kind of weird. I don't think I've heard of it, and yet it's very common. So let's continue because I've answered some other questions. It goes on and says why Lewy body dementia. Number one, the fluctuating symptoms, the episodes of confusion and freezing coming and going, which is a hallmark of Lewy body dementia. This variability distinguishes it from other types of dementia, movement issues. The freezing and difficulty with movement can resemble Parkinson's. It's often confused with Parkinson's disease, all right? So keep that in mind, which is common in Lewy body dementia. Elderly appearance. The symptoms align with an elderly individual's cognitive and motor function decline. Remember, we discussed earlier that President Biden simply has an appearance as an elderly person. If you remember from the HER report, and trust me, there's much more to come during another live stream pertaining to the HER report. I plan on going over that extensively with y'all because I think it's important that we talk about these things. Remember, this special prosecutor would not indict and bring charges against President Biden because, in his words, and of course I'm paraphrasing, he said he presented himself as a kind, nice, old man, an elderly man, and there is no reason to prosecute somebody that clearly a jury is going to have extreme sympathy for. He is an elderly, sick individual, and that's just the bottom line. That was according to what's called the HER report. It goes on. While this is a speculative scenario, consulting with a healthcare professional, all right, well, they always say that. So I continue on. Just to be clear, I would say that most of the time the individual does look like he is elderly. And generally, over the course of an hour, you can definitely see this individual has some type of odd movement. Generally, someone will help them try to get back on track, so to speak. I am thinking it might be number one or number two above, and you would agree that if you have any other questions, let me know. Is essentially what I'm asking. So the response from Chat GPT was given the additional clarification. It does seem that the most likely conditions are either Parkinson's disease or Lewy body dementia. Now we're almost done with this particular discussion with the chat. I'm of the opinion, folks, that he has this Lewy body dementia. So continue to keep that in mind as we go through this. Parkinson's disease, the tremors. It goes, you are correct that one of the hallmark symptoms of Parkinson's disease is a resting tremor, often described as pule rolling, which typically starts on one side of the body. However, not everyone with Parkinson's experiences tremors. And of course, with President Joe Biden, I have not noticed any tremors. If you have, please let me know. The freezing episodes, confusion, and need for redirection could be indicative of Parkinson's disease dementia, what's called PDD, which occurs in the later stages of Parkinson's disease. Motor symptoms, freezing of gait, which is walking, rigidity, and bradykinesia, slowness of movement. And of course, President Biden definitely has that. Are other motor symptoms that often occur. These symptoms can lead to the appearance of being stuck or frozen, especially in a complex or crowded environment like a stage. Now, Lewy body dementia, fluctuating cognition. Lewy body dementia is characterized by the marked fluctuations in attention and alertness, which align well with the described episodes of confusion and freezing. These cognitive fluctuations can cause individuals to appear lost or suddenly or confused suddenly. Boom, right? And it says this Parkinsonia symptoms. People I think this is important, this point here. People with Lewy body dementia often develop Parkinson motor symptoms, including rigidity, the bradykinesia, and tremors. These motor symptoms are similar to those seen in Parkinson's disease, which can cause episodes of freezing. Other symptoms, Lewy body dementia can also include visual hallucinations and severe sensitivity to antipsychotic medication, which are less common in Parkinson's disease. So it's going through and it's given me, the what's for given, and the conclusion is as follows. Given the described symptoms, it seems the Lewy body dementia might be a slightly better fit due to the significant fluctuations in cognitive and motor symptoms, which include freezing and confusion. However, Parkinson's disease with associated dementia, the PDD we talked about, is also a strong possibility, especially if the individual shows clear Parkinsonian motor symptoms without the significant day-to-day cognitive fluctuation typical of Lewy body dementia. And I think that is exactly describing President Joe Biden. He definitely has the cognitive fluctuation that you would see in a Lewy body dementia. So I went on. I said, if someone wanted to hide their disease, at least temporarily, I'm talking about President Biden, of course, would they be able to do so by taking medications like Provigil or Ritalin or some other type of medications? And the answer from ChatGPT was yes, it would work like that. Ritalin, used primarily for ADHD and narcolepsy. It obviously focuses and helps attention. All right, and then what I was talking about earlier, the Provigil, I believe the generic, actually I think it's called Monofil, and the name it's sold under is called Provigil. It's used to treat narcolepsy and other sleep disorders by promoting wakefulness. Just as a side programming note, if you ever have trouble with waking up or staying focused, check in to this Monofil. This is really good stuff. I've heard great things about it, and there's loads of stuff on the internet, specifically YouTube, pertaining to this particular drug. So it goes into a few other things and what you can do to deal with the symptoms that you're having. I said, if another symptom is that the person appears to get angrier quicker, what disease would that most likely lean to? And boom, Lewy body dementia. Irritability and mood swings. Lewy body dementia often includes significant mood challenges, including increased irritability and rapid changes in emotion. This is consistent with the fluctuating nature of the disease, which can cause abrupt changes in behavior and emotional state. So I think that was pretty good. I mean, I think it did a good job answering. I said, for this hypothetical patient, there is 81-year-old white male living in the United States. I'm thinking that when this person goes out in public, they are probably on some type of medication or combination of medications. We talked about that a minute ago, so they could basically hide their disease, so to speak. And of course, it confirmed what I just said. There's a number of medications, individually or in combination, that doctors typically use in this particular situation. Now, finally, I said, what is the prognosis for an individual with this disease? What is the likelihood that this individual would live to reach 86 years of age? And this is important. This guy's the president of the United States. If he wins re-election, he'll be serving another 4 years if he could live through that. So here's what it said right here, and I think this is pretty good. Right here on the life expectancy. Average life expectancy. The average life expectancy for someone diagnosed with LBD, we're talking about that Lewy, let me read it correctly here, that Lewy body dementia, the LBD, is generally reported to be between 5 and 8 years from the onset of the symptoms. So that's what I want to finish talking about here. If it's 5 to 8 years from the onset of symptoms, and we're just going to pretend that he has this LBD, this Lewy disease that we've been talking about. Well, clearly 2 to 3 years ago, he looked much better. I don't know if you can say that it started back then. Now, he was having trouble last year. I think that's very, very clear. So why don't we just give it the benefit of the doubt?